Let's take a deep breath together.
Oh shit, I'm soft time.
You can take a deep breath on your own time.
We're here.
We're queer!
And we like you.
I like you.
I like you too.
I like you.
This is Queer Content Presents.
I like you.
Here
And
with
this is Ash Shepard.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
How do you identify?
I identify as queer on the queer spectrum.
Okay.
So I've always been attracted to same sex, opposite sex, but also non-binary individuals as well too.
Same.
Yeah, yeah. So I never really
why limit yourself, really?
I know, honestly, like I never really felt the need, like I never had like a coming out experience or a story or whatever. I think my parents just like always knew that I had an attraction to anything but cisgender men.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I never really like had like the coming out experience. It wasn't anything that I felt the need to like come out and say like.
Yeah.
It was just
okay.
known.
Yeah,
You
it was just
you
known.
just you.
Yeah. And I feel
Pretty
like
cool.
with your family too, like your immediate family, that's probably like the hardest part is like coming out to them.
Yeah,
First.
for a lot of people.
Yeah,
sure.
for a lot of people. So for me, I think my mom knew. My dad knew. They just like it was just kind of like, oh, well, whatever, we'll go on. It's not a big deal.
So what would be your definition of queer? Like, how does that inform your identity?
Queer for me is, I feel like it's more encompassing of, not necessarily sexuality wise, but also just being different in general. So whatever society deems as normal, I'm definitely the opposite of that. But in speaking about like sexual orientation, I just knew at a very young age, and through experiences too that probably shouldn't have happened, that I did end up having an attraction to the same sex. But outside of that, definitely having like a different upbringing. My parents never really shunned me about like, you know, people that were that identified as gay, lesbian, whatever have you. I had probably a gay uncle, gay cousin, some point in my life that I always attached to.
Mm-hmm.
I identified with them in a sense where I wanted to be near them. I wanted to learn more from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the older I got, the more I realized, it's like, well, I like that because that's a part of me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's definitely like the outside the box type of thing for me.
They're like fringe.
Yeah.
People who choose their own life, make their
Yeah.
own life exactly how they want to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What are your pronouns?
She, her. If you're my stepdad, boy. he didn't have any like, you know, cis males, you know, birthed. So we were his boys at the end of the day. We were tomboys by nature, but
Yeah.
if he wanted us to go get some, boy, go get this, blah blah blah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I like being called
That's
boy.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
How has your queer identity influenced your creative endeavors?
Oh, a lot. So I'm a graphic designer. I studied at UNF, and by having friends, family members, and myself included, that I knew had some form of adversity with being queer, I wanted to include that in my art and my creativity. So a lot of my illustrations that I created, for example, I did a couple illustrations for my illustration class, where I did a series of non-binary individuals that were either in music, art, or some way in the limelight, famous.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much putting it on, like, in your face, like, you love and accept these people, so why can't you accept the people that are in your everyday life? You know? So I always wanted to kind of like, you know, push the envelope a little bit. A lot of my professors probably didn't really understand it at the time, but I knew that it was important for me to do. So
that's something that I enjoy about you and
Yeah.
get inspired by what you do and what you create is that you're always producing more content that doesn't exist necessarily
Yeah.
in large quantities.
Yeah.
And you choose to highlight people who are not often highlighted.
yes, definitely. Yeah. It's very important to me. Very important.
In your work, in your life, in your creative endeavors, like, how do you, when you do have to deal with like homophobia or racism or
Ableism?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was the word. I
Mhm.
wasn't sure. How do you deal with it? Like, how do you approach that? How do you?
Ooh. So I used to deal with it in a very like a lashing out type of way, and it's usually in a space or an environment where I can't really I don't really have a choice but to acknowledge that this person has said something to me or has done something to me that I'm uncomfortable with. And it's usually like a bar scene or, you know, me out just minding my business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before I would basically kind of like make them feel like shit for even thinking, you know, or feeling comfortable to ask certain questions. But then I had to kind of look at it at a different perspective. People are just curious. They want to know, in terms of like ableism and being in a wheelchair, I know and understand that I don't fit that textbook idea of what a person in a wheelchair looks like or what disability looks like. I understand that. But also we need to understand that disability doesn't have this one image of what that is. And me trying to, you know, have people understand that, I can't really lash out as much as I used to because some people they just don't know. And there's been a lot of people that have never seen someone in a wheelchair, to this day, in front of them, they never experienced that. So for me, it's mind-boggling because I'm like, how?
Have you been asleep?
Right? I'm like, how?
Do you live under a rock?
Yeah, it blows my mind. So, in me understanding that, I've been a little bit more inquisitive. Well, what makes you ask that? Why would you feel like that's okay for you to say? Not in an aggressive way as I used to. Because I want them to learn. I don't want that experience or that exchange to be something that they think negatively about and assume that
And if you're the only one person they meet, then
they're
that's
gonna
their
assume,
experience.
they're gonna assume that every person is like that, and I want to have that positive reinforcement rather than it be like a negative experience for the both of us.
Yeah.
And it all depends on how they approach it too.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't deserve to learn it, I'm not gonna teach you.
Yeah. So yeah.
I definitely struggle with that too. In terms of my sexuality and my race, I feel like I should be able to act whatever way I want. If I'm pissed at the way that you approach me at this point in my life, I'm going to act whatever way I need to feel relief in the situation.
Exactly. Right.
And if I have the patience to educate you, you're lucky.
Right. Yeah.
Then it's a good day.
Yes. That's very true.
Yeah.
So, this is one of my favorite questions. I love this
I
question.
really
You
like this
came up with
question too.
one.
Yeah, I did.
Name the 2 most dangerous emotions.
Ooh, hey. Jealousy. Maybe envy. I feel like those kind of go.
Oh, I think it was exactly BB's answer.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah, jealousy, envy. You tend to move a different kind of way when you're jealous or envious of something. I feel like with social media too, it's at an all-time high. So there's a lot of things that you're doing now that you wouldn't normally do had it not been for social media. And I feel like a lot of people are putting themselves in positions to where, and I hate to bring up this word because I'm so tired of hearing it right now, integrity.
I haven't been hearing integrity.
No?
What is the
Okay,
what's that
so
connection?
the Monique and Steve Harvey she actually went on his show, and they had a discussion about integrity and basically, you know, her being blackballed in the industry. And Steve basically was saying that you can get your point across, still have integrity at the same time. But also, if you already feel disrespected and you know that they are disrespecting you by even offering or giving you like whatever you feel like you deserve more, then however you react to that is rightfully so.
I don't know the story about Monique. And
yeah,
integrity. Is there like a shorthand of that?
So
yeah,
Netflix.
Not catching it.
Yeah, Netflix. She was going to do a special for Netflix. They presented it to her, and they basically lowballed her for, you know, what she's worth. And a lot of people arguments about that is that it's because she hasn't put out recent work. She's not.
There's a ton of people on Netflix that haven't put out recent work.
Yeah, a ton.
Yeah, like look at all the old people they're giving like full series to.
Yes.
Like, I mean, granted, like they also have pretty long like rap sheets too, but like
yeah.
I feel like Brandy and Monique were like kind of on the same level. Brandy has done like some more.
She has been doing.
Things,
She's been a little problematic,
but I would value them the same.
Yeah, and I feel like that's basically what she's trying to get across. But it's kind of like a lot of people are trying to not acknowledge the fact that it is a race issue, and making it more about, you know, your like your career, your popularity. Well, what money are you making now? What are you doing right now? We're talking like about one of like the biggest comedians, like let alone man or woman, who gives a fuck, one of the biggest comedians in like ever, and you were gonna lowball her like over like Tiffany Haddish, Kevin Hart. Like these are people like you see them all the time. Like, of course, like that's just what the way the industry is now. But if we didn't have social media or that need to always be seen 24/7,
right,
y'all would have gave Monique what she.
I mean, and
deserved.
Talk about like don't forget where you came from.
Yes.
She paved the way.
Thank you.
In so many ways. Like, can we not give her some credit for like being there at the beginning?
And also, on top of that, like, what is culture right? Like pop culture right now is retro. It's stealing from the past. It's like everything 90s, like late 80s. Monique is that.
She's all of that.
Like, what do you think Monique calls her vagina?
Back on Netflix.
What does she call her vagina?
Oh. More Monique.
Minnie Mo.
I was thinking mama, because she calls her husband
Mama?
Daddy.
Mama. Oh,
yeah.
She's really hot, actually. You know a lot about Monique.
Right, Mama Monique.
Oh,
I'm Monique, and this is Mama Monique.
What do you call your vagina?
Oh, we didn't have that question written down, by the way.
This is the question. What do you call What did you call genitalia?
Right.
Okay. Well, I'll answer.
I was segueing. I was like, what do you want a smooth segue?
I'll answer what I call it now is ashweed.
Ashweed.
And that's because I had like when I had my first Brazilian wax, it was by a Korean woman, and that's the way she pronounced my name, like Widow Ashweed. And I was like, you know, that's cute.
Yeah, you are waxing the Widow Ashweed.
Right, I was like, you are waxing the Widow Ashweed. She's
good. 5 times fast.
She's good, Ashweed. And I was like, the Widow Ashweed. And I was like, yes, that's her name. But when I was younger, listen. So growing up in the South, we had all kinds of names for.
Oh, jeez.
So female genitalia was cootie cat. Yeah, cootie cat. Cootie cat. PP, of course. Like I think there was like stages. So from like, you know, toddler, PP, I'll say about 6, 7, it started to be cootie cat.
And you gave it these names?
No, this is like names.
This is just
like
area.
Like, what's the context when somebody's like, don't touch your pee-pee, you're in public? Like, is that what it is, or do you have to use the bathroom?
But how am I supposed to do if I like have an itch?
Yeah. I think that's what it was.
That's
it
wrong.
was
They
more,
never talk about that.
Yeah.
What do you do in public when you have an itch?
Right.
For women.
I think it
I mean,
was.
men can do
Men
it.
can
Yeah,
just do whatever the fuck
exactly.
they want.
Like, listen, if I got an itch, I'm an itch.
I started just finding the biggest group of people around and scratching it.
Right. Or if you got a wedgie, like, just pull that shit out.
Well,
Yeah, I do it all the time.
On a slightly separate note, that just makes me think of this thing that happened at my work. I won't say where this is and who these people are, but so
These people.
I work in a very small room with a close team, and I like them. They're cool, but they're a bit problematic sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like a slight like low internal monologue moment, and we were talking about babies, and they were like, how do you tell it, like, how do you give the sex talk? And I'm like, they come out of your vagina. And everyone was like, whoa, Nina, did you say vagina?
Really?
What? And I'm like, you call your husband a dick all the time.
Like, you say vagina?
Yeah, like, anybody can say, like, phallic terms.
Right.
But, like, you say, like, a strict, like, this is a...
Like the actual
word. Yeah, anatomical term. And I can't, like... It just made me think of that. And I had to share it with somebody because I have been keeping that in for a while. So why not do it here?
That's honestly, like, why I feel like the names that we came up with for, like, vagina were so much more fun and, like, cute or whatever have you. Than dick, prick, dangalang. That's what dangalang.
Yeah. My mom would not allow us to say anything about vagina and penis.
Really?
That's smart.
It's not. She didn't not allow us to, but she would say
what
it's a vagina.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of like the term fanny, though.
Fanny.
That's adorable.
I love that.
But it's funny
cute.
because society doesn't allow room for you to just call it what the fuck it is. Even though I was like brought up to say vagina and penis, and I probably say it a lot easier than other people do, I still feel a little uncomfortable saying vagina and penis.
Yeah.
I've been trying to let that go, and I think that's why I said it at work.
It's probably because it's not even. It's society,
I don't feel wrong about it,
like how people are gonna respond to it, like when you say it.
Yeah.
I think I have more confidence in saying vagina than I do like pussy.
I love pussy.
I really
love the
do
word
like saying pussy, but
I also newly liked cunt.
I've always liked cunt though, and clit.
I love the way pussy feels coming out of my mouth. And also going in it.
For a really long time, it was hard for me to say pussy because I had a lisp for a really long time when I was younger. So like saying
when you talk about
pussy,
your childhood lisp, it just makes me feel things.
It was silly. It made me sound really silly, and I couldn't even say silly. So I was like, I found silly.
Oh,
that's so cute.
And I couldn't tell anyone I had a lisp because then I have a lisp because I'm like, I have a lisp. That word, it's awful, by the way.
Literally, like, why would you do that? Like,
whoever created that word hated people with lisps.
Yeah.
They're like, we are going to give you a name that you can't even say.
Yep.
It's the worst.
S and a P together. Why would you do that?
So pussy for a really long time, I felt kind of like hiccuped in saying it. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
It makes things like sexual things sound really
That's
funny when
true.
you lisp it.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. I feel more confident saying it sexually than I do just in a normal conversation.
Oh yeah, no. When I say pussy, it's usually strictly sexual.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about anatomy, it's vagina.
Yeah, vagina. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I'm like whispering sexual things in someone's ear, it's pussy.
It's like my vagina is wants you.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
don't like
sexy.
that. I think I think there's a syllable. Like,
and
cut
V's
off.
are very hard.
Yeah.
Like vagina, like just like lesbian. I don't like saying lesbian because there's too many syllables.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Like pussy.
Yeah.
So you're out on the town.
Out on the
town. You see somebody cute.
Oh yes.
What pickup line do you use?
I always feel like, do I know you from somewhere?
Ooh, you're sneaky.
I do. I be doing that. Like I've seen you before.
Do you have
like,
knowing full well you have not?
No, yeah, like it's either like
So y'all, when you hear her say this,
yeah, like y'all already, I'm giving you like my little,
but it is authentic. She's saying it's authentic in a different way.
In a different way. So I sometimes do that when I see someone attractive enough, and I'm like,
Have I seen you in a past
Why?
life?
The question is, why haven't I seen you before?
Oh.
That's what it is. Why haven't I seen you before?
Oh,
like,
that's
You
also
should. Do you say that?
Yeah, I've said that.
Why haven't I seen?
Yeah, why haven't I?
If somebody came up to me and said that, I would flatter.
I would be so flattered.
Wow.
I'd be like, that is the perfect pickup line for me.
Yeah. I would be like, yes, I'm sorry. You've been deprived.
Yeah.
Yes, I am worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
It's
I
like,
love that.
Like, why haven't I seen you before? I did that at Read Down, I think. I was
Good place.
about
How
to
did that
go.
end? What was the outcome of that?
Well, I was on a mission.
Give us the
Because
tea.
I had already seen, it was this guy,
It's a small
I don't
town.
even, I can't remember his name. Yeah, and it's a small town too, so whenever I see like a cute person, I'm always like, where they come from?
Right.
Why ain't say that? Do you know, can you, like, you don't know that? Okay, well,
Because odds are, if you throw a rock, you're gonna hit somebody that knows everything about that person's life.
Exactly. So I try to get the
If
tea.
you just breathe, it'll probably hit someone's
Yeah.
face that knows them.
I mean, you gotta be careful. Like, you gotta get the tea first because you could be walking up to some psychopath.
Exactly. So I tried to get like the tea
That's a good point.
on this particular guy, and nobody really like knew anything about him except that he worked at like one of the restaurants in the area. So I was like, okay, well, I ain't gonna say nothing. I was like, I don't even know. I ain't gonna say nothing. But the opportunity presented itself again when I was about to leave you down. He was coming inside. Mm-hmm. So we had like this weird. This happens actually a lot, where the person wants me to go. Like they're trying to let me out, but I have like this like strong confidence. Like, no, you're gonna come in. Like you come in. So we did that for like, I was like about 15 seconds. Like,
no, you go.
I'm like, no, you come. So that happened, and he's like smiling over there. So he was about to walk past, and like I grabbed his arm, and I was like, why haven't I seen you before? And he was like, oh, like I just started working at blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, like, that's weird. Like, I'm always out here and I've never seen you before. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, yeah,
I'm
you
kind
should.
of a fixture, so.
He's like, well, yeah, you should come, like, when I'm working or whatever. So I tried and it just did not work out. It just.
Like, you tried to go to his work?
I tried and I just, like, I got awkward with it. Mm-hmm. Like, I went in for the kill. Like, I was on it. Like, it was all lined up perfectly. Yeah. But the follow up, it was like, why didn't I just get his number then?
Yeah,
like when you first said it.
Universe knows what it's doing, though.
Exactly.
He was probably trash.
Yeah, and it ended up like people ended up telling me.
Yeah, you see, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. See, that's why I was lucky because no one knew me.
Yeah.
At all. Mm-hmm. So there was no trash really, except what I had already done before I had other people.
True.
But I think it was minimal.
Now, granted, like we all have like our trash, you know.
I try not to do much.
Pasts and maybe some
I've
presents.
been a trash human before.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why I'm so lucky we didn't have social media when I was a kid, because we would all be trash humans.
Yes,
all the parts.
Yes,
all parts and pieces.
That's very true.
So tell me about a time when that pickup line ended up in something positive.
Oh,
or has it?
Oh, that usually happens.
A pickup line somebody else used on you, that just like a positive situation. Like, how would you like to be approached?
How would I like to be approached?
Yeah. Not that we're trying to bring back pickup lines, because
it's
just.
I think what's happening right now is I'm imagining you in sexual situations and it's doing things for me, so I'm asking more questions about it.
So, all
right, now we figured it out. Okay.
I have been in situations where a lot of times some people don't really know how to approach me. So I would say what not to do is tap this, ask me.
I'm sorry, I laughed because I can't imagine someone doing that.
Yeah,
I can. Imagine someone
tap.
doing that.
Don't tap like as if I don't know. I feel like they do it because they. they think it's like an extent, like it's a part of my body. So it's the equivalent of someone coming up behind you and like putting their hand on the small of your back.
Yes, I get that.
Which, fuck you.
Yeah, like don't touch
don't do that. That's a space that you have to ask permission for.
Right.
Or at least like do some more
work. Like, or we need to be acquainted in some way, shape, or form before you.
Even then, like people I've known for years, some days I don't want to be touched.
Yeah, that's very true.
Ask me every time.
That's very true.
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah, but I think I feel like I'm more intrigued by people that don't acknowledge the chair first, because it's making me feel like you actually see me. And you're not too concerned about the chair, like what happened. Because when you get me on that spiral, I'm already like, I'm turned off.
Yeah.
Just like, a compliment, or just like saying like, oh, like you look really nice tonight or whatever.
So, before you had sex, what did you think it was?
That's kind of a hard question. Because I think my idea of sex was kind of skewed because of experiences I had when I was probably too young to understand what sex was. So I think when I was younger, it was seen as like a game, like something fun to do, like either that or the whole like pretending to be the husband and wife, and the whole idea of honeymoon. So I actually thought for the longest that honeymoon meant sex. Like if you're going on a honeymoon,
that's basically what it does mean. Yeah,
that's basically what it is.
To be fair,
right? So for the longest, like whenever we thought about like. Or like playing games as like kids or whatever, you say like you're gonna go on a honeymoon, and it was like, ooh, they about to do it. They about to do that.
Yeah, do it was always the term.
Right?
Doing
it.
Yeah.
Or honeymooning.
Interesting.
Was like a term too that we like associated. We thought it was sex, but we didn't know like what it was. We thought that it was just like I don't know how to describe it. So like, okay, when you're younger and you kind of like you realize like, oh, there's this button there that feels nice, like that if I have this friction, that something good will come from it. So it feels good. So that's what I associated sex was, that this feel good like feeling, not necessarily the actual act of sex. So I don't even remember. I think probably sex ed is when I realized that oh no, I'm lying. Ooh, I am really lying. So when I actually realized it was when I was 7 years old. Ooh, I hope my mama don't see it. So well, she probably know. They
tune out now, mama.
Shit, they know. I found my parents' porn collection.
Ooh.
But I still didn't understand. I didn't know what sex was. So it was like a male-female interaction, and there was this scene where like the guy was ejaculating on the girl's butt, and I was like, why are you rubbing lotion on her booty? I did not understand. I was like, what?
That is way more PG than the first porn I ever saw.
I didn't understand it. Oh, mind you, I was trying to watch my Little Mermaid sing-along tape.
Right?
So,
oh, well, that's unsettling.
Yeah, so I pressed, like, you know,
the right
they have,
thing.
like, the little, you know, your VHS player. So I just assumed that whatever is in there, that's my Little Mermaid tape. So I hit play. And
little did you know.
Little did I know. And I was like, why is he rubbing lotion on her booty? I had no idea.
Were they both naked?
Yeah, they were both naked. They were having full-blown sex, and even as I'm watching it, I'm not associating what I'm seeing with sex.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, they're doing something. But why? I was like, why is his pee-pee alone? Why is he rubbing his pee-pee, like, the lotion on her butt? I didn't understand it.
For moisture, right?
Yeah, I was like,
Her
okay,
butt's dry?
that's weird. Where my damn Little Mermaid sing-along tape? So It was until
I'm not under that sea.
Right. It was until
What's your favorite Little Mermaid song?
Oh my gosh, Kiss the Girl.
Segue.
Kiss the Girl.
Oh, I love that song.
La 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 la, don't be scared, you got to. Yeah, that was like my favorite one. Kiss the Girl.
I like the one where she's in her little cave of trinket.
Oh yeah.
Look at this stuff.
Yes. But she's
what
like,
did you think my collection's
talking
company?
to you. No, it's
I
like,
feel that way when I walk in my house when I'm older. Stealing all the shit that I accumulated.
Like, where the hell did I
at
buy
this
all
work.
this shit?
I stole it from somewhere.
I think that's also a culture like I kind of miss. Like, even though I wasn't immersed and I wasn't old enough to understand it, the whole idea of going to a video store and getting your porn tapes.
Well, you can go to any porn store now and do that.
I mean, like a porn store, but you have like Pornhub. You have like all these different like websites where you don't necessarily have to go and get your porn
or purchase it.
So like, you know, like that whole like, you know, shame from like, you know, trying to like get you a porn tape. Like, I kind of think it was cool that my parents didn't give a fuck. Like, they okay, damn, I'm putting too much, never mind. I kind of like that they didn't care so much, like, as now I'm thinking about it, like, how people kind of, like, still shame you about certain kinks or fetishes that you have, and not really, I mean, some of the stuff, okay, after I found that one porn, then I started hunting for other stuff. And I got caught, like, watching their porn before.
Did you get in trouble?
Yeah, it was kind of like a reprimanding. Like, it's kind of like, why are you interested in this? Like, do you know what they're doing?
How old were you when you first got caught?
I got caught when I was 9.
Oh, so you had a solid couple years.
Yeah, but they have already caught me masturbating. So I'm like, they already know I'm curious. So I'm like,
did you get in trouble for masturbating?
I think they kind of like, it was like a little bit of like a shame, like a shaming thing, only because they didn't want me to get comfortable enough to do it like in public. So it's kind of like,
had you done it in public after that?
So I don't think that I had done it in public, but it could have gotten to that point. Fair enough. Because of how like how much I was doing it and how many times I was getting caught. They were kind of like, you know, okay, we need to watch her because we don't want, like, people. My mom always say something, she was like, even when you don't think nobody's looking, they looking. So, be mindful of what you're doing because somebody gonna see it.
That's with anything.
Yeah, that's with anything. Yeah. But especially as a kid, you know, even if you're like, you know, doing like.
But that's nice because she's like, make up your mind about what you want people
to see and
what you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you know that you're gonna feel uncomfortable and someone seeing you doing a certain thing, then
don't do it where you have
exactly.
And as a kid, you don't have enough experience to know whether or not you will have any consequences from people seeing you do anything at all.
Exactly.
So.
I think their concern was more so of like, where did you learn this from? Yeah. So they wanted to make sure that it wasn't, you know, a whole nother ordeal or situation, which is fair, but also it's kind of like doctors will tell you like this. It's a normal thing for kids to experiment. So it's like I was healthy. I was experimenting with myself. So it was kind of like to the point where they were just like, oh shit. Like they probably have caught me and I probably didn't even know it and they just let me go like all about my business. But I think that was probably about like 9 when I kind of gotten a little bit of like the shame from like the whole like watching porn or being like interested in sex. But that was also around the time where I got my cycle too. So they were probably thinking about a whole nother like thing other than me just like what? It just y'all watch it. Why can't I watch it?
I didn't like. I grew up in a community where there were like so many kids around. And so many opportunities to experiment with sex as a child that I'd never masturbated. Okay. Like my sexual experimentation was always with another person. Yeah. And it was like into my adulthood that I even started masturbating. Right. So nobody ever like caught me doing anything.
Right. So I wanted to ask you guys this, because it's something that I've, like, kind of been on the fence about. So I feel like there is, like, this idea of, like, when we say, like, experimenting with other kids or whatever. But then there's some people that identify that as child-on-child molestation.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I don't really necessarily know, like, how do you separate the two if this is if physicians are telling you this is healthy for your kids to experiment with each other. Yeah. How to, like...
I feel like the line there is, like, how much you know is going on versus how much the other person knows is going on.
Yeah.
Like, if there's something...
power in
if there's a manipulation effect in
the
situation, if, like... I think that, like... That's a tough question, though.
Yeah.
Because I think it's different for everyone, and it's evolving for everyone. Yeah. As somebody who was a survivor of abuse and somebody who experienced child sex experimentation, that definition has changed for me so much over the years, and it's always evolving. Like, I just had a conversation with somebody that for a very long time I considered it molestation and abuse, and now in being able to have conversations with that person, I can see it as experimentation, but my mindset in it being molestation was that I had lasting effects of trauma as an adult. So in going to therapy and figuring out how to cope and figuring out how to, like, find power in that past and that experience, I can now see it as experimentation. Yeah. But that may evolve again in my life.
True. Yeah. That's something, like, I always thought about, because, like, same with you, I kind of, like, associated that with just, like, I think I got to a certain age, and I was probably, like, in high school, where I was, like, no, that was molestation. Granted, the person was only 2 years older than me, but it was just, like you said, manipulation and, like, that power. That, like, power thing. And I remember at some point too where I was, something in my mind knew that it wasn't right, because I was trying to prevent it from happening with my younger siblings. So that's what I kind of, like, was like, okay, like, there's obviously not it's not like a technical, like, consensual situation where you are both, like, you know, eager to, like, you know, experiment or type of thing, whereas it's kind of like
someone is being manipulated.
And it's very, like, confusing being on the side of being the manipulated, because even though you are being manipulated, you, even as a child, are doing it to get something.
Exactly.
To get attention, to get you're being fed in some way. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes you're just completely
like a false
being
reward
taken.
System.
And definitely, and, like, through talking to a therapist, like, that question, I never thought about that. Like, oh yeah, I was getting something out of it, and that's really hard to swallow. But it doesn't mean that it was healthy at all, and a kid can't process that.
Of course not.
So that's a really difficult subject, and I think that everyone deserves to give themselves an opportunity to define it for themselves.
I've never, this is actually my first time actually, like, having a conversation with people, like, outside of, like, my family or, like, immediate circle of, like, trying to identify, like, what is that? And actually knowing that other people are experiencing it too.
Yeah, I think it's more common than anybody talks
so
about.
Common.
I've done a lot of research of it over the years because it was so prevalent in my childhood, and I read a book one time that really changed my opinion about it. It was about, like, a tribe in Africa, and it was from a kid's perspective of child sex play, and it was just, like, a common thing because you lived in a hut with your parents, they had sex in front of you, you knew what sex was at an early age, and you would go play house. Like we all do. And because it was a visual thing, they pretended and sometimes went to the extent of full penetration as children. And I don't I don't think that that's good for any child,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think that it is normal, and I think that I don't know if it should be normalized, but it should be a part of conversation.
Yeah, definitely acknowledge. Because I think another thing too is like with parents, they are looking at it from the perspective of if an adult touches you in this way, shape, or form, this is what you do in that case. But it's never thought of like that other kids would do that as well too. And granted, every person's individual experience is different, so one kid may have gotten it from another, or experienced it from another kid, so it's like a learned behavior type thing. But then there are those instances where a child may have learned that from an adult, and they are just basically like repeating that behavior with other kids as well too.
Like proportionate things.
Equilateral. Like
I like a whole picture.
Yes, same. Yeah, that I love that. I would say probably. Sorry.
There you go.
From a femme bodies.
I just want to get the cat in my back.
Maybe collarbone.
Are you saying mask in terms of male or female?
No,
or
not necessarily.
Female, feminine, or mask.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So if you're like female identifying, male identifying, androgynous.
I think this is mine.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't. But yeah, collarbone area.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts of my own body.
Same. I like my neck.
Yes. Neck area, like collarbone, neck area. That little part between
The iliac crest.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Like that V cut.
Yeah, the V cut.
Yeah, the bone.
The bone.
And the muscle situation here.
Even if it's not like chiseled, like it don't gotta be chiseled, but it's just like that little space, like that little crease right there.
I do like it too.
I also really like back dimples.
Yes.
And
I
backs
love
in
back dimples. Yes.
I also love a cute belly.
Bellies. I actually like body hair.
I love pubes.
Pubes, the happy trail.
And armpit hair. I don't like hair on men though. Which is funny.
Yeah, like if you got like a little chest hair, that's fine.
It creeps me out.
Sometimes
I'm like I don't like full blown chest hair, but also when it's just a little bit of chest hair, I'm like, have you hit puberty yet? No. Still gonna think it's gross when you do hit puberty.
The little taco meat in the middle, and that's it. Like,
I
where's the
remember
rest
the
of
first
it?
time I saw like a boy's butt, and it was in college. It was that
With
long.
hair
Luckily,
all over
Really?
that thing was so hairy, and I'm like, ew.
Like it'll be like the rest of their body is hairless,
Which is funny because like I've dated
exactly. He didn't have any
trans
hair on
guys
himself.
and they have like butt hair, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I just don't
it's,
like it.
I
I mean, I know there's hair there. I don't know.
It's just on
I don't mind.
cis man.
Yeah, I don't. It's on the cis man where it's like, how is it?
I just
that,
doubt their willingness to clean themselves properly. And I'm just like, that's a lot of
Yeah.
hair to have
That's
to clean.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm like, if
That's
you smell
so
good,
right.
and like, if I don't have to worry about it, then like,
Listen,
I
it's
get-
fine.
A piece of toilet paper fuzz in
Oh,
my mouth.
listen.
Oh,
I
it's
had
okay. Stop.
a terrible.
That's the way with girls
terrible-
and guys. Like, no matter
Anybody,
what,
just be
clean
clean.
yourself.
What?
Be clean.
I
yeah.
feel like,
But
you
I mean, it's
know,
human nature. Like, it happens.
When you
but-
was raised right, you know, to clean your ass.
yeah.
Like, wet wipes are not, and it is not gonna demasculate you.
No,
to
no.
wipe
If
your
anything,
ass.
it's nice. It's
Yes.
attractive. Like, if I see wet wipes, cool.
I was like,
you thought about
yes,
it.
You be like, okay, you good. Like, we might
Yeah.
could do something. But I had a very terrible experience where I was like,
let's hear
wow, they really out here not wiping their ass.
Jesus.
I
probably just
okay.
made the worst face right now.
Listen.
Oh,
I was given fellatio, and I I was doing it, and I like he wasn't like clean shaven or anything, which that doesn't bother me. I was like, okay, but I only noticed it like on his like testicles, so I was like, all right, yeah, your balls hair, that's fine, I ain't going down there. But as I'm like, I went and I just got down there, and I was like,
down there is like to his ass,
just his dick.
Okay.
And I started to
there was like a distinct
perform,
smell or something.
and there is a smell,
oh.
and I kept thinking to myself, I was like, girl, is that you? Is that me?
Like, no, I'm far enough
So
away
like
from
I
myself.
was like, right, so I would like come back up, and I'm like rubbing, I'm like I smell like my top lip, because I'm like, is it me? And then I'm like, okay, I don't know smell. I was like, all right, girl, just try this again. And there you go. I went back down, and I was like, this him. So then some told me to look.
I just like that.
Oh God.
Some told me to look down.
Oh Jesus.
And he was like he's a skinnier guy, so I could basically see his ass from the front.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So I looked down and I was like, oh, this motherfucker got he had a dingleberry.
Stop!
No! Dingle.
No!
And I was like, I had to play it cool, because I'm like, okay, everything in me right now, knowing me, the type of person that I am, I wanted to cuss him out.
For making your mouth go near there.
Yes, and I
put my mouth on there.
And I thought about it. I was like, did you take a shit before you come over here? You had to taken a shit. There is no way that had been in your ass for you not to know that it was there. How do you not know?
Oh, Jesus, ask those questions.
It was.
I have to answer it, okay?
Okay, listen. It wasn't big. It was just caught. It was stuck.
To hair.
What
else could it dingle from?
Toilet paper? Caught to hair?
Stuck. And I was like, bitch, you gonna have to finesse your way about this. So
Did you point it out?
No, I didn't point it out. I didn't point it out. I was like, you know what? Either he really genuinely doesn't know that he don't know how to wipe his own ass, or he knows and just don't give a fuck.
Which is worse?
So at that point, I was like, I don't want to fuck with any other of
So how
those
did you
options.
stop it?
So I just stopped.
Uh-huh.
And I just kind of like, I stopped doing it, and I kind of like leaned up against the couch, and I'm like, just looking at him. He was like, what? I'm like,
you got a buddy.
And it kind of like just ended there. I think he kind of like got the vibe that I was like,
not into it for one.
Dry as a bone.
Yep, I was all the way good. I never brushed my teeth, mouthwash, scraped my tongue. So much in my life. I was just like, if he's that, okay. If
Why
you
would I put that in my vagina?
Thank you. If you're that negligent with your butt, the thing that you gotta wipe, you touch, you clean, you're supposed to do every day. If you're that negligent with your butt, I don't know what you done did with your dick.
Right.
So at that point, I was like, "Girl, you need to go get tested. You need to do everything you need to do to make sure that you're Gucci." And
yeah, smart.
Bless that everything was fine, but also I was like, they really ain't.
So was that your first dingleberry?
That was my first dingleberry. I was traumatized.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that was my first, and I hope it's my last.
Can't plan on that.
So he was your first dingleberry experience. Have you ever been someone else's first sexual experience in any way, shape, or form?
Like, just like intercourse or, virginity wise. I don't think in that sense. I think certain acts of sex I have. I didn't know the whole thing behind squirting and how that actually happens, but a person that I was dating at the time actually achieved that. It's not something that I know how to do on my own or whatever, but that person was able to do it, and they were like,
they were able to squirt, or
they were able to make me squirt.
Cool.
And they were like, I've never experienced that before. But sometimes with the whole like squirting thing too, I feel like mostly cis men, they view it as their form of ejaculation.
You don't come though when you're squirting. No, it's not.
It's not the same.
Really? It might be. It could be. It's different with bodies, but like it's really honestly just pressure.
It's just pressure.
Yeah.
It literally is just pressure, and it's like I won't equate it to like urinating where you're relieving yourself, but it is a relief. Mm-hmm. So that in and of itself is like, that feels nice type thing. But as far as like comparing that to orgasm, it's not.
You didn't make me come.
No, you did not make it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That is not equivalent to your ejaculation. So please stop trying to force me
to do
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because they really think that like, oh, if I make her squirt, then that means I did something. No.
Also, like, can we talk about? I don't want me orgasming to be the antithesis of our sexual experience. Period.
Yeah,
that's not sexy for me.
Right. Yeah, that is very like what? Okay, so I'm on a different like spectrum of that where like I don't want that to be like the end all be all or like the goal, so to speak, but I do want it to be an equally pleasurable experience for the both of us. Yes. So if I am doing everything in my might to make you orgasm or have a climax, I'm gonna need you to do the same for me.
Yeah.
So if you get yours and I'm still like,
I have energy.
Yeah.
Like, don't go to sleep now. Don't go to sleep now.
Like, what we about to do next? Like, and you're like, ooh, I'm beat. I'm gonna be pissed off. I've actually kicked people out of my apartment. A lot of my thought process with that, and I will say that this is predominantly with cisgender men, that I will tell them beforehand, what I like. And it's not even like a checklist, so I'm gonna let you know, like, I like this to be rubbed this way, counterclockwise. It's not even like that where it's like you have to do this A, B, and C to get orgasm. I
don't like going in presuming that I'm gonna know what I like in any situation. Exactly. Because I've experienced so many new things in every situation.
Yes. Exactly. So I don't really, even when I try to do that, and sometimes you get on the topic of sex and you both like express like, things that turn you on, and things that that turns you on about that person. And sometimes those it just naturally comes about. But if I had that conversation with you and then you get up in it and then you forget everything that I done said, that deters me from wanting to, like, why even talk about it if you're just not going to implement it some kind of way. And then I realized, and this is something, like, I'm in therapy as well, so I've kind of had to come to terms that a lot of the men that I was dealing with were basically fucking themselves through my body.
Oh. So like you're a fleshlight?
Yeah, that I'm a fleshlight. Wow. So there is no concern about whether or not I'm having pleasure.
Oh, that's how I always felt when having sex with men. I always felt like the sex toy.
Yeah, and, exactly.
Like, verbally that was said to me, and
Jesus,
like that was hot to them.
Oh fuck no!
I was certainly feeling like I was being used.
Yeah,
and that can feel really hot when it's consensual.
When it's consensual,
absolutely it can. But that's when you have no option and you're just like laying there, like expected to take it.
I don't really like that.
Is that associated with men who are fetishists? Or just men? Because
I would say just men, because I think it's just men, because as much as I do love porn, I feel like it has a false depiction of what sex actually is.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with individuals that have like this emotional connection and they're like vibrating off of each other. Like there are certain things and vibes that you can like literally see like, oh yeah, that's it. Like I know exactly how that feels. You know, to visually like see that, it's different. But for a lot of men, they're not watching that type of porn. They're watching like gay bangs and, you know, like, and it's fine when it's consensual, like you said. But when you are experiencing a person right here in front of you, take that time out to like actually explore their bodies, and you can
like you're not alone right now.
Exactly.
You appreciate that you have a partner in this right now, and you're not just with your hand.
It's as simple as just like doing something that you have an idea. Okay, a lot of men that have had, you know, sexual partners before, they have an idea of what works for some women. A lot of the women that I deal with. But if you are paying attention enough to see how that woman reacts to what you're doing, then you can better figure out, or literally ask questions, is this okay? Like, and then there's a very sexy way of doing that as well,
absolutely.
too.
I love being asked questions.
Yeah, like, you can literally ask, or just, like, a touch and look type of thing. I feel like even that in of itself is, like asking for consent. Acknowledging, asking for consent. Like, is this okay? There are a lot of nonverbal cues that you can use, but also you can also just ask. Like,
words are sexy.
We're already butt ass naked. There is nothing like. What are you afraid of?
To be fair, though, I have been in a situation where, and this isn't really like the opposite perspective, but like I've been, you know, receiving. Someone was going down on me, and it was going really well. Like, I was, like, this close to coming. And, like, it takes me a bit because I get in my head, and then I have to, like, get back to it. And, like, I just, like, it's a very mental thing for me, sex-wise. And she was very good at asking and, like, making sure everything was cool. We weren't, like, doing anything too crazy. It was pretty straightforward for gays. And she, like, I guess was not reading my body language or anything, or like me getting close to like climax, and right before I came, she stopped. She stopped and looked up at me and was like, "Is this okay?" And I was like, "No, this is not okay. What you were doing a minute ago was fine."
Now I gotta start from square one. God damn
Then she looked so concerned when she looked up. I was like,
shit.
Bless her heart.
There's like no
so
going,
sweet, but also like
going back for me. It's really hard to get back into it.
It was just like she seemed very like timid at that point, like, and like that just
And that's probably like, okay, when you're
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Even when you're like the one that's performing and trying to get that person to feel pleasured, or
but like read the body language. Like if you're doing something right, don't ask if you're doing it right.
Yeah, just look. God damn it, just all you have to do is open that one eye. That's all you have to do.
And it's sexy when you look up, you know.
Or just trust that the person is going to say something if they're not enjoying.
And I think that's part of it too, like with if it's a hookup situation. And I think this is probably why the conversation doesn't happen as much as we would like it to. If it's a hookup situation, you're kind of just like, oh, we're just going to wing it and see what happens. And that's usually the time where you kind of realize, like, God damn it, I wish I would have said something. Right? But
like, now I'm really into it.
Situations where I'm just like, doing whatever until it's over.
Yeah, because it's like, it's good, but also it's like,
So we're running out of battery.
Okay, well.
But that's why I picked these last three questions. So we like to wrap it up with these ones.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll ask the first one. What are 2 things you know about yourself that you don't need any reinforcement for?
Ooh. That I would probably say one is that I am perfectly fine the way that I am. I think a lot of times when people hear about my disability and how I'm an incomplete paraplegic, that means like instantly they're thinking, oh, that means you'll walk again, right? And for me, for some people, they cannot understand that I don't have that desire to walk again. Now, I'm 30 years old. My disability, or my injury happened when I was 11. So that's what, 29? Let me count. 29 years, is it? 19. Shit. I don't know math.
30 minus 11.
Yeah, right? But yeah, like, that's a long time for me to have to basically figure out how to live my life as a person in a chair. Mm-hmm. So if I went 19 years of being in a chair and someone comes along with like, well, why don't you, try to walk again? And I'm like, that is a whole nother X amount of years of me devoting to something that I have already accepted. So my concern is that I want to live a fulfilled life. If I'm still concerned about whether or not I'm going to be able to walk again, I'm not living in the moment. Because I'm still thinking about what could have been, what should have been. Because a lot of people in those situations, and I feel like it's injuries that are later on in life, where they've had, their childhood, being able to, walk and run and do whatever they wanted to do, and they had the girlfriend, the boyfriend, and never had any issues with like discrimination as far as just something that you literally have no control over. And then that switch will happen, and instantly it's like, what am I gonna do now? So I never wanted to be. I always tell people I've always been so appreciative that the universe allowed me to have that happen at such a young age, to where I was able to work through everything that I was feeling. I had to grow up, a little faster than most. I had to deal with a lot of shit that no child should have to go through. But also, it prepared me for the world. Like, a lot of things that I experience now, that if this didn't happen, I would take a lot of shit to heart. Like, I would be very, very emotional about a lot of things, like little small things that would happen to me. And it's just because that I, at a young age, 11 years old, I'll say about 11 to maybe like 14, 15, I allowed myself to feel everything that I was feeling. And my parents allowed me to feel everything that I was feeling, but also made it clear that you are not alone. Like, you have this support system. We're going to push you to be the best version of yourself. So if that means that you're going to be crying and going to school, then you're just going to be crying and going to school. Yeah. So it'll be like stuff like that. But yeah, being to the point where I am making it my duty to say that I am okay the way that I am is more so to people that are trying to project their idea of what they would do in this situation onto me. So that's one. Sorry, I'm off on tangent on that.
Yeah, that's fine. Complete answer.
Let me think. Second one, I would say that I'm going to find joy versus happiness. I kind of like have like thought back and forth about this a lot, and especially like being in therapy, have associated happiness with being just content. So I'm happy in the moment. Like I'm fine. Like this is good. But I want to find joy in life, in a sense where like getting outside of like my normal routine of things. So if that means like going to work every day, like doing a 9 to 5, I'm okay with that, but I don't find joy in that. So I want to get to, I feel like that's something that I know that I am trying to make sure that I achieve. I don't want to wait till I'm like in my 60s to get there. Like I want to do that. I'm doing the work to get there now.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I think that's
beautiful.
Yeah. I like Thank you.
What is your most profound queer experience?
Ooh. Okay, so my my stepdad, I remember I was saying like how my like what I've learned about queer identity kind of like came from like family members. Mm-hmm. So my first experience with someone that was on the queer spectrum was my stepdad's cousin. But because they were around the same age, he was like our uncle, so we would call him Uncle Cousin Dwayne. But yes. He was a hairstylist. I met him when I was 6 or 7
All gay
years
people
old.
are hairstylists.
Oh, yes. He used to lay, oh my God, he used to lay me and my mama's hair. Every time we would go to Virginia to visit like my dad's family. Every time. And I loved being around him. I remember when I turned 16. This was around... No, I was 13. I wanted to get my eyebrows arched. I remember like, I'm like, Mom, let me get my eyebrows arched. Like, he's doing her hair anyway. You might as well just let him like arch my eyebrows. And he was right along with it. Like, I feel like he was like the first person that made me realize my like the power in my femininity in a sense. Mm-hmm. So just like my appearance, like it wasn't even like, oh, you a bad bitch, like this is how you like a bad bitch should look or whatever, but it was more like own it.
Yeah, when you feel confident, you're powerless.
Oh yeah, own it. So it was like something a little like arching my eyebrows that I felt like it made me feel more confident. But really, he didn't really do much. Like, he still like made sure it was like still PG-13. But it was like those conversations where I didn't even see. At that time, I didn't see it as a queer identity thing or me being intrigued by queer. I didn't know what to label it. Mm-hmm. All I knew is that this is someone that I need around me at all times. At all times. And I ended up realizing that my parents somehow ended up being that for other queer people. Mm-hmm. So... my stepdad is in the military, so a lot of times he would be like a mentor, and he would have like kids. They weren't kids; they were like young adults, like in their 20s. That he would end up mentoring. We would invite them over for dinners, this, that, and the third. And a lot of the time, they were queer people, mm-hmm. and I kind of like really like the fact that my parents were showing me that there is no no separation. All there is like love and compassion. Like, a lot of times these kids didn't have their family members and they were disowned by their family members.
It makes sense that they go to the military.
Yeah,
like that's
that, and then that ends up being like their family. So I love my parents for that, but I realized that once. Just seeing how open they were to my uncle cousin and how they embrace him. Now, my real dad, when he first met him, was not with the shits. And that's when I realized my dad is just, my biological father is homophobic, and that's he gonna hear. Yeah, he gonna learn. I'm gonna make him learn.
It takes time.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like his experience with that was different, and I'm just like, whatever. But yeah, my first experience with my uncle cousin was like,
I want to like interview you and your parents at the same time.
Yeah. That would be dope.
Who should we interview next?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe my mom. I feel like my mom definitely.
Do you think your mom identifies on the queer spectrum in any way?
I don't know.
Do you think if she thought about it, that she'd be like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of queer?
I don't know.
I feel like my mom would say
That
something
is
like
so
that.
true.
I don't
Like
know.
I've never actually thought about that. I feel like maybe, but my
I feel
mom.
like my mom just hasn't met the right woman yet.
Yeah, I feel like they don't. I don't even know if they don't.
I think my dad's enough of a woman. My mom's kind of queer in her own right. So I'm just kidding, Dad.